Time for all of us to go into the Spider-Verse.
Those were up, and they did.
More smarts, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for the first of the last two reviews of the Spider-Man review series before Across the Spider-Verse comes out, releases. And it's, believe it or not, guys, sorry, I had to adjust my chair, not going to be a live-action one. This was the first of the theatrically released films to be entirely animated. And it was released in 2018, December 2018 even, and was done by a company known as Sony Animation, and produced by two legends, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. That film was going to be for none other than 2018's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the first theatrically released Spider-Man film to be entirely animated, and the first entirely animated Marvel film to go to theaters. So yeah, and started a new kind of wave of animation. So what's the plot of this? Well, pretty much Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the creative minds behind the Lego Movie 21 Jump Street, bring their own unique talents to a fresh vision of a different Spider-Man universe, and a different kind of Spider-Man lead, Miles Morales, the first film to portray Miles Morales as Spider-Man. With the groundbreaking visual style that was the first of its kind, Into the Spider-Verse introduced Brooklyn teen Miles Morales, played by Shamik Moore, and the limitless possibilities of the Spider-Verse where more than one can wear the mask. So how was this made? Well, in November 2014, we all know Sony got hacked. And following that incident, emails between the Sony Pictures Entertainment co-chairman Amy Pascal and President Doug Berglund were released. And it said that Sony was planning to rejuvenate the Spider-Man franchise for developing an animated comedy film with Lord and Miller involved. During her time as Sony's co-chairman, Pascal approached Lord and Miller about making an animated Spider-Man movie, to which Lord and Miller agreed with the condition that they could adopt Dan Scott's 2014 Spider-Verse comic book storyline and star Miles Morales as the protagonist. Sony executives were set to talk about the project further discussion. A discussion regarding several Spider-Man spin-offs films at a summit in January 2015. In 2015 CinemaCon in April, Spider-Man chairman Tom Rothman announced the animated Spider-Man film had a July 20th, 2018 release date and would be produced by Lord Miller, Avi Arad, Matomic, and Pascal, with Lord Miller writing a treatment for the film. Rothman said that it would even coexist with the live-action Spider-Man films, but Sony stated that the film would exist independently of the projects of the live-action Spider-Man universe, as it's set in an alternate universe from those films, without the version of Spider-Man as seen in the MCU. In that December, Sony moved the film's release date to December 21st, 2018. By June 2016, Lord had written a script for the film, and the studio chose Bob Persichetti to direct. Miller said the film would even feel different from previous Spider-Man films and would stand on its own as a unique film-going experience, and rumored to focus on the Miles Morales version of Spider-Man, and Sony confirmed at a presentation for its upcoming animated films in January 2017. Peter Ramsey had joined the film as a co-director by that point. In the next month, Alex Hirsch, named as a contributor, and Christina Steinberg replaced Tomash as a producer. She previously collaborated with Ramsey on Rise of the Guardians while she was at DreamWorks Animation. In April 2017, the release date was pushed up 1 week from December 21st, 2018 to December 14th, 2018. The Lord Miller announced the film's full title in December and even said that multiple Spider-Man would appear in the film. And by then, Rodney Rothman had previously co-written a screenplay for Lord and Miller's 22 Jump Street. The script is even credited to Lord and Rothman from a story by Lord, making it the first film Lord had written without Miller. As 6 Spider-Man films had been made already, the team agreed they first needed to decide why this one needed to be made. Their answer was to tell the story of Morales, who had yet to appear in a film by Brian Michael Bendis, co-creator Miles Morales, consulted on the film adaptation, and the first full cut of animax and storyboards to the film were over 2 hours long, which is uncommon for animated films. The director attributed this to mostly to Lord Miller and their approach by acting as many elements of the film as they could at the outset, with the intention of seeing what it could handle and then shaping to the film from there. They said that the final runtime would be between 90 and 120 minutes, a standard length of an animated film. They added that a balance would have to be found between the expectation of an animated film that will have a large audience of children and requirements of the story. Directors felt the plot was similar to live-action Spider-Man films, especially due to the large number of characters in the film. And 1 year to its release, Miller and Rothman opted to rewrite the story as they had to figure out how to reshape sequences which had already boarded and animated and fold them in with new stuff. They even added that they had substantially rewritten the third act. It was also originally going to be featuring a romance between Morales and Gwen. But then the idea was scrapped. Spider-Man was still featured prominently in the film because of the efforts of producer Christina Steinberg. And by August 2018, the directors had considered what a potential post-credit scene for the film could be, giving the audiences had come to expect up from Marvel films. Then the writers were to include post-credit scenes with cameos by all 3 live-action Spider-Man actors, which were Maguire, Garfield, and Holland, but that was cancelled because Sony felt such a moment at the time it would cause confusion and be too risky. Holland even recalled that scene was even intended to include him as a passerby at a train station who would say, "Hey kid, I'm Miles." But anyway, after the film was shot and marketed, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse premiered at the Regency Village Theater in Los Angeles on December 1st, 2018, and would be theatrically released in the United States into theaters, but with its kept release date on December 14th, 2018, in 2D, 3D, 4DX, Dolby Cinema, and IMAX formats. At the box office, the movie grossed $384 million worldwide against a $90 million budget. And of course, when it comes to the critics' reactions, it received widespread praise from critics for its animation, characters, story, voice acting, and humor. And the film won Best Animated Feature at the 91st Academy Awards, being the first non-Disney Pixar film to win the award since 2011's Rango. It was even successful at the Golden Globe Awards, the British Academy Film Awards, the 46th Annie Awards, and of course 2 sequels, Across the Spider-Verse this year, and next year Beyond the Spider-Verse will be released. A spin-off film is even in development, and a television series is even going to be considered. And it wasn't just critics and Spider-Man fans and animation fans who loved this movie too. Several people in Hollywood loved the movie too. Prime examples: Tom Holland, who plays Peter Parker in MCU, praised Into the Spider-Verse as one of the coolest films he saw, and Holland's MCU co-star Chris Pratt, who worked with Lord and Miller on the Lego Movie films, described it as this emotionally moving, cutting-edge, progressive, diverse, funny, meta, action-packed, silly, visually stunning masterpiece. Comedian and actor Patton Oswalt, who worked with the duo on 22 Jump Street and appeared in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., called the film brilliant and continued that it was a non-stop year for him, and he was glad he ended it on that brilliant film. Easily. Not only was it the best superhero film ever made, according to him, it's a flat-out game-changing movie, and he was going to see it again the next day. And of course, director I've lost respect for, Kevin Smith, reviewed the film on his podcast, Fathom Beyond. He states he always liked Spider-Man, but this movie made him love Spider-Man on a Batman-type level. And in his statement, it just even further said it just goes to show that any character in the right hands can be a transformative experience. Then Barry Jenkins, director of the film Moonlight, which also starred Ali, praised the film, and he called it magnificent and cited it as the best Spider-Man film, and one of the best films of 2018, the best tentpole films in Edge of Tomorrow. Jenkins even further said that he was stupefied and just tremendous work, so grounded and full of verve, visceral. He saw it on the biggest screen you could find, and a visceral and thrilling experience. He salutes them. Another director I've lost respect for, Ruin Johnson, described the film as the Velvet Underground of superhero movies, and it would be an influential film. James Gunn also lost respect for. Named Into the Spider-Verse's favorite superhero film, and then of course Marvel Studios president MCU producer Kevin Feige loved it. And many other filmmakers like Edgar Wright, Jens Ford, and Rommel Ross have listed the film as one of their favorites of 2018. And if that wasn't enough, guys, the film's success influenced other projects using a mixed 2D and 3D animation style. And the animation techniques created for Into the Spider-Verse were notably reused for The Mitchells vs. the Machines, another Sony animation film that Lord and Miller co-produced, and also influenced the animation style for some DreamWorks animation films. Those two being The Bad Guys and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, both 2022. Alright. To be honest, I'll get the animation stuff later. The directors even said Spider-Verse inspired them to create the hand-drawn style and visual effects of the live-action MCU series Miss Marvel, and it was cited as an inspiration for the animation of Marvel Disney Movie series Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur during a special... Yeah. Okay, enough about that. Let's get on with the review. Let's not make this too long. As for my reaction, well, first, this was made by Sony Animation, the company at the time behind some good films like Surf's Up, Cloudy, and the first 3 Hotel Transylvania films, and some Aardman collaborations like Arthur Christmas and Pirates Band of Misfits. However, they did some really bad movies, like the open season films, Surf's Up 2 Wave Mania, the 2 live-action Smurfs movies, The Star, Peter Rabbit, and the infamous one the year before this, the Emoji Movie! So their reputation wasn't quite a funk, and some were kind of worried about this movie since a certain company was going to make it. But as soon as the movie came out, their worries proved to not actually happen, because not only was this movie great, it was more than that. It was phenomenal! Everybody loved it, and ever since this movie, Sony Animation has improved their quality and done better stuff ever since this movie was a hit. This is without a doubt ended up being my second favorite film of 2018, behind Infinity War. And it's not only one of my favorite animated and Marvel films of all time, but it's also my second favorite Spider-Man film behind Spider-Man 2. It's everything you should have in a Spider-Man film in the first place. If you had a list of everything that can be done to make a near-perfect movie, this movie checks every box. The visuals have been talked about endlessly, it won an Oscar for them, and we know they're great. The story is great, and it gives us a new Spider-Man with his own skills and personality that he brings to the table. The script is tight, and the production is executed with laser precision, and the voice acting is nothing short of top-notch. It's easily the second best thing about this movie, right behind the glorious visuals. And Shamik Moore would quickly grow over as a career actor ever since this movie. Like, his rage was as good as any veteran actor, and he injected so much life into Miles Morales. He definitely is easily the best Miles Morales in any film portrayal so far. And Chris Pine, even despite the short amount of lines he had, he did not phone in those lines. It was superb casting because he and Jake Johnson sound pretty similar. And now, speaking of Jake Johnson, like, I have never seen much of anything with Jake Johnson in it apart from 21 Jump Street before this. With this movie, I think he's easily very underrated. Oh wait, no, I have seen the Jurassic World films. He was in the Jurassic World films, I think. Maybe I'm proven wrong. Was he in the Jurassic World films? Tell me in the comments. And from the moment he popped up in this movie, around the 20-minute mark to the end, Jake turns out to have one of the best voice acting performances of all time. He succeeds in bringing a past his prime Peter Parker to life and runs the gamut of dramatic, sincere, intense, but above all funny as well. Every single comedic line never fails to make me laugh out loud. Many of the gags pop up in my head after I saw this film. And I've actually enjoyed Hailey Steinfeld in the majority of the films she's been in, and she definitely shines in this movie too, along with the rest of the supporting cast. And the greatest thing about this movie also happens to be its weakness. And for me, the visuals are second to none. Another review titled summed it up perfectly, like it was the most visually stunning film you'll ever see. Definitely agree with that. It does take a little time, like 10 to 15 minutes, where your eyes are kind of adjust to the frame rate. Some people don't really seem to adjust to this. Like, and I can imagine how poor the viewing experience would probably be, but whatever. Another thing is, since they use actual motion blur, but instead chose to animate blur-like artifacts and tricks to make it seem like blur, or having images doubled and overlapped for its ghosting effect, it confuses some people into thinking they're seeing the 2 images of the 3D version without the glasses. And lastly, the sheer intensity of some of the rapid action sequences combined with visual aesthetic pushed just beyond the breaking point and then dialed ever so slightly back by the direction team, it may simply be too much for some people, and I can get that. What it is, though, what is a comic book movie and what makes it great? From the original Superman, where we first saw a comic book hero fly on the big screen, to Burton's dark and stylized Batman, to the graphic novel-styled Sin City, live-action assembled X-Men, Spider-Man, Iron Man, The Dark Knight, the entire MCU, all of these are comic book movies, and depending on your personal definition, probably range from good to great, and they're all live-action with varying degrees of special effects, and some with animation. Like, if you had to pick ones that feel the most like a comic book, you'd probably pick Sin City for their overall look, and the Face Your MCU films for a combination of visuals and capturing the tone and spirit of the comic book story arcs. but they aren't literally animated comics. The closest to that would probably be the animated movies, right? Like Mask of the Phantasm or any of number of the Marvel animated movies. But those are just cartoons. They're just cartoon versions of comic books. Into the Spider-Verse is quite literally an animated comic book. And it's so much more at the same time. It's an explosion of comic book ink and paper, a Disney palette of superbly rich colors, a jaw-dropping display of digital artistry melded with living, breathing characters we care about, a story that is perfectly derived from the very medium of which it is being created, yet not for one single moment, ever feels forced or hollow, a soundtrack fused with the endless exploration of a massive city, staggeringly sized scientific chambers, gigantic forests, and neon electric digital dreamscapes of action set pieces that whir and click and come to life exactly as they do in the minds of children reading them on paper. And the story is told with breathtaking CGI, with a look that is nothing like any other film I had ever seen at the time. Like, in this world, like, a young man who sees Spider-Man killed is also bitten by a spider, becomes the next incarnation of Spider-Man, but instead of taking the time to enjoy and learn about his new powers, he finds himself in the middle of a weird apocalyptic occurrence, and all the various incarnations from the various universities come together to save the day. And the movie's fresh take on Peter Parker is exactly what we needed to fully grasp that. How compelling this character could be without any of his superpowers. The version of Peter Parker is just fat, subtly depressed, and tired, but he's the most charming, lovable version of some of the Peter Parkers in this movie. Easily. It's something we haven't seen in quite a while, the genuine humanity that makes Peter Parker a charismatic character, and one can be thankful for that. It's the first time, like, we see a teenage world in a superhero movie that feels vibrant, and now, like, nothing feels fake, phony, or forced about the school scenes, and the music is just as powerful as the film. And I think all the Stan Lee cameos were perfect in Marvel films before, as this was one of the last he did before he passed away. Rest in peace, Stan Lee. But of all the cameos in his Marvel films, this one like feels the most organic and perfect, because it often would bring a tear to a viewer's eye when he sells Miles the costume and tells him that all the costumes eventually fit. And kudos to the producers for remembering both Lee and Steve Ditko at the film's end. And of course, well, and now while Infinity War may be the best Marvel movie ever, you need to have to see every single Marvel movie ever to get that, though. But this is the kind of film that anyone can enjoy without ever watching the other Spider-Man films, and they'd still enjoy it. But like with this film, Marvel's created a film that celebrates comics, film, and visual arts. And it celebrates Spider-Man, makes this superhero relevant and contemporary. It's absolutely eye-poppingly beautiful, and really pushes the boundaries of the genre with its colors, textures, and camera movements. There are several different forms of animation in one film, and you feel as if you are reading a comic book, or the comic book is coming to life. And the cameo Spider-Men are perfect, as we've never seen these Spider-Men before. I've never even heard of these Spider-Man portrayals before, but until I've seen this movie. Like, first you have Penny Parker, who is this young Japanese-American girl from an alternate anime-like universe that kind of somewhat resembles the Disney movie Big Hero 6, who co-pilots this biomechanical suit with a radioactive spider that shares a telepathic link with her. And then you have Spider-Man Noir, who is this dark and monochromatic alternate version of Peter Parker from the 1930s universe. And finally, of all portrayals, you have Peter Porker, aka Spider-Ham, who is this alternate talking animal version of Spider-Man from an anthropomorphic universe who was once a spider bitten by a radioactive pig, believe it or not. So it's a little different little twist on the story. Usually Parker's or Morales are bitten by this radioactive spider to get its powers. This one is just a spider bitten by a radioactive pig. And honestly, I think Spider-Ham might have to be John Mulaney's best performance yet so far. And surprisingly, Sony even proved they can make perfect twists and even turn them into tear-jerkers. Like in the film, throughout the film, Miles admires his Uncle Aaron throughout, but eventually it turns out he's revealed to be the Prowler and is working for the villain of the movie Kingpin. However, when Aaron realizes that his nephew is the Spider-Man he's fighting and about to kill, he quickly backs out of the fights, quick, but then gets shot by Kingpin for it. And Miles flees to Aaron, who literally tells him to keep going before dying, and even says one of the most inspirational quotes, that he's the best of all of them, he's on his way and to just keep going. It's easily the kind of emotion you want to see in a Spider-Man movie, and it's definitely the kind of tragedy Spider-Mans usually go through. Then his dad sadly arrives on the scene and Miles escapes, and it leads Jefferson to mistake that Spider-Man killed Aaron. there, because throughout the movie, like throughout the movie, like Jefferson kind of is known to really not like Spider-Man, and in the end of the movie, he's actually proven wrong about Spider-Man and stuff, and he actually grows a bit of a respect for Spider-Man at the end of the movie. This film has all the emotion you want to see in a Spider-Man film right there. And it's a perfect twist and take on the character of Prowler too. Yeah, we know Aaron is Prowler, but it's still kind of a unique twist that he quickly backs out of his crimes when he finds out that his nephew he's about to kill his own nephew right here. We don't really get to see that a lot. What else can I think of? And easily, like, I do love the finale here. It's just like so crazy in your face, and two here and Miles' new suit at the end is very terrific, where it's kind of a typical Spider-Man suit except kind of spray painted black and stuff. Here as well, I mean, and yeah, they got just about everything terrific here. Now, okay, though, does the movie have some bad qualities? Well, this seems like a weird one, but the animation is good as much as that is. I think the success of the animation in this movie can count. The animation in this movie is terrific and beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's caused a bit of a problem in Hollywood today. The animation being widely praised and successful has caused it to now get milked to death. Films like The Bad Guys and Mitchells did it, but they managed to pull it off without being overly distracting, and they did their own kind of different take on the Spider-Verse animation and didn't try to copy the same exact style. Because sadly, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now, I did love Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, guys. Before I get into that, I did love The Last Wish, and it will get a review next month when I finish during the Shrek review series. And yeah, I'm saying that for a DreamWorks sequel released today. But that movie really did not need to have the Spider-Verse animation at all, and that was probably my biggest bad quality with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, because it was really distracting. And now the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are going to do this crap with that bad-looking backwards film we're going to get this August, produced by Seth Rogen. Like, you can tell the team behind that Ninja Turtles movie we're getting, they just, like, want to copy this film. They seem like they badly wish that movie they're getting is going to be this. And it won't. I don't need to see the Turtles sounding like children, because it's supposed to be an origin story for them. Stuff like the Turtles don't need to sound that young. And stuff, and heck, this... And like, I can bet you, this is clearly the movie Lightyear wishes it would have been. That Pixar wishes their Lightyear spinoff would have been, but it wasn't. The thing is, though, Into the Spider-Verse didn't rip off other animated movies. Because all Lightyear was, hey, remember Interstellar? We're ripping it off. Or, we're putting in LGBT references that children don't need to learn at a young age. Yeah, all they did was rip off Interstellar, and it flopped for good reason. They couldn't even come close to, they couldn't even try to be something like this. And now back to this review, though. Some of the soundtrack is a little bit cringe, but it's kind of, I think it's meant to be. I think it's meant to have all the rap songs. And it does have one good song called Sunflower, which was kind of definitely stuck in my head after this movie. Any other bad qualities? No. I've got no other bad qualities, that's all I can think of. And those two do not ruin the movie for me, and it's still a masterpiece. I don't have any problems with the characters, I don't have any problems with the story, I don't have any problems with the runtime. I think the runtime was actually kind of perfect here. This movie even proves animation is not just for kids, like so many people seem to think. Though anyways, how do we finally summarize it? In the end, Into the Spider-Verse is a terrific movie that is worth watching and buying for Sony animation fans and Spider-Man fans that want to see Miles Morales on the big screen for the first time. Anyway, That's it for my review of Into the Spider-Verse, and wondering how I'm going to rank Into the Spider-Verse, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you want to see Miles in a film and want to see an animated Spider-Man film, then I totally recommend watching and buying this movie for your collection for sure. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Into the Spider-Verse, I'm going to give Into the Spider-Verse a flat-out 10 out of 10. There we go. That wraps up my review for Into the Spider-Verse. And you're wondering, with this little light thing right here, well, that's technically my bike light that's going to go on my bike eventually, but it kind of gets a little bad lighting down in this new room, so I need a little light so people can see my face a little more clear. And then it doesn't get overly too dark and stuff, and then people can't see my face, even with the little light on right there in my closet. So I have this light on to provide a better lighting. So yeah. Well, and now I gotta rewatch Far From Home, and then I'll be finished the Spider-Man review series until Across the Spider-Verse comes out, and then I'll be moving on to Shrek and Indiana Jones as my next 2 review series for June. Indiana Jones because, well, Dial of Destiny's coming out, and that might provide an entertaining battle review on my channel, if I might provide an entertaining battle review on my channel. And of course, well, now you haven't reviewed the Shrek. I just want to review the Shrek movies. I haven't reviewed them yet. They're one of my favorite franchises. It's one of my favorite franchises, and I just want to review the Shrek films. But anyway, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.